Hello, Riven mains and Yasuo mains alike. I'm the Nightwing, coming at you guys with another League of Legends video. So, my thoughts and opinions on the LCS Week 9. The regular split is over. Just want to say before I actually start the video, me and JTH went on vacation, but content is coming back at full swing ahead, and we're going to be looking at playoffs coming up this week. Actually, it just feels like NA is really ramping up these games this week. We have playoffs coming up, which I'll be doing a separate video for that, obviously breaking down both of the respective games, or I might actually just break down both series in general in two separate different videos, because I feel like that's going to be a little bit more, because if you try and put that all into one video, that might not actually be very productive overall, because there's two separate matches coming up and very key matchups that I want to highlight for both of those specific playoff games. So with this last week, I'm going to actually start at the bottom teams, because you have a bunch of tiebreakers. Then you also have Cloud9 and CLG fighting for the playoff bye, and they also played a tiebreaker game. So let's start at the bottom of the standings. So let's start with Echo Fox. This week marked Echo Fox's last two games ever in the LCS, since they are going to be selling their slot to the original P1 owners of, from back in the day from Phoenix 1. Echo Fox, they played a really just horrifying game against FlyQuest. They played their other game against, I think it was Clutch. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I kind of forgot who they played on Saturday, but I know they played against FlyQuest on Sunday, and they, managed to finish the split 4-14. It just really feels bittersweet that Echo Fox never really did do anything in the LCS. I mean, yeah, they were first place for last year's spring split, and they got third overall, and they got a chance to go to Rift Rivals. I mean, that's better than what a lot of bottom tier teams are able to ever achieve. But, more or less so, you kind of associate Echo Fox with being at the bottom of the standings, and it feels good for them to win their very last game in the LCS. It just kind of feels like this organization ran by Rick Fox could have just been a whole lot more, but, bad coaching, bad management issues, players never ever on the same page, map rotations were always bad, just overall poorly ran League of Legends team in general. I feel like that they could have did a lot more, but you're always going to have those what if questions when it comes to teams like that. So Echo Fox finished their season 4-14. They were in 10th place, and that's kind of what you expected if you have a roster of Apollo, Hakuho, and Mike Young, and Phoenix, and Solo. But it depends, because Solo played really well this split. Phoenix played okay. Mike Young played pretty bad. Apollo played pretty bad. Hakuho played pretty well. It was just like these pieces just weren't going to work out. You had below average players who we've seen play before, and we know specifically what we're going to be getting out of them, and them all on one team means that they're not going to do well, and that's just how we've seen these players for a very long time. The last place team other than Echo Fox is FlyQuest. They went 0-2 this week. They lost to TSM and then lost to Echo Fox as well. TSM also played in their Academy jungler Spica. With that being said, FlyQuest just look all out of sorts. I don't really know what's really going on with them. Yeah, they had a pretty decent game against TSM. I just feel like that Baron Steel really turned the game on its head. You also had, Bjergsen trying to play as good as he could, but then you realize that, TSM overall just have the stronger players. In that type of game, it's just like TSM just have the stronger players, whether or not TSM have actually been performing well, which they haven't, and that, specifically just residence to about how well both teams are going to perform. FlyQuest have been looking really, really off. Yeah, I understand they beat Cloud9, but not only were Cloud9 not playing well that game, you also have to factor in that, it was Deathly's first game on stage with them, and he also was looking like he was very nervous, and I'm not going to take too much credit away from FlyQuest. It just feels like they weren't able to replicate anything in that game to the other games to give any indication to me that that was actually a win where you can just be very, very confident in FlyQuest. Now, with FlyQuest moving to the regional qualifier, they're most likely, based off how they finish, are going to play round 1, because in Summer Split, the points matter more, and we have to factor in what else is going to come off with FlyQuest. Are they going to improve for the regional qualifier? Are they not? It just kind of feels like roster changes are going to come after this split, because it just feels like next year they probably want to be a lot better than where they've been placing at. Coming off of them, all split, they just really looked out of sorts. Yeah, I know you had the whole Wadid JJ situation, but it means that, FlyQuest go back to their, 8th place ways, and I really like that they got to 4th place. It was really good for them in the spring, but now they're back to where they are, and that's just not really how I anticipated them this split. I had them at 8, I think 6 or 7. I don't remember. Me and JTH are gonna have to go back and look at our LCS power rankings before the split. But yeah, FlyQuest finished 5-13. Now I don't know and remember all of these teams' rankings moving up at the top of my head, so please take this with a grain of salt. Let's go to 100 Thieves. So 100 Thieves come into this week, and to get even into playoffs, they have to beat CLG. You have to win that game in order to even have a chance at a 3-way tie. With that being said, 100 Thieves actually do beat CLG, but end up losing the other tiebreaker game to Optic. So yeah, they end up not making playoffs. They end up 8th place on the split. It doesn't feel like they were an 8th place team. It feels like all of these situations they were trying to band-aid up started. It's like when you put a band-aid on a cut and then it starts undoing itself, and it just feels like all of their band-aids just started to undo themselves. Ryu started playing not so good. The team's synergy started faltering a little bit. Yeah, they went 5-4 on the back end of the split, but it just didn't really feel like that they overall, made enough good improvements to really get them into playoffs. They were so close. And they really should be like the 7th place team. But the 7th place team didn't make playoffs, and that's Golden Guardians. They went, 0-3? Yeah, they went 0-3, not including the tiebreaker game. I don't know what really went on. They all played poorly. Froggen played as well as he could. Haunter played as badly as he could, and he was the other centerpiece in which they actually had to, play around sufficiently in order to really make it a lot better for them. Once I saw, Contracts pick Lee Sin, I was like, yeah, this is not going to work out for them. I saw Contracts locking the Lee Sin, and I was like, yep, this is probably not going to be well for them in general. They lose 3 games in a row. They are out of playoffs. And yeah, it just feels sad because not only can they not make playoffs, they can't even go to the regional qualifier because the points in summer are just a lot more than what they were in spring, and they are sitting home until next season. So, for all of these teams in 7th through 10th, we're going to have a new team anyway, so you don't really have to count Echo Fox too much. But looking at 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians, and FlyQuest, it's really going to be interesting to see where they actually end up changing rosters, because you have to factor in they don't want to finish there, and they want to kind of finish at a higher position. So we'll have to see how they all, adjust to the next year and 2020 spring split. So let's move on to the playoff teams. Actually, we have the lowest seed, which was Optic, right? They got smashed by Cloud9. They played better in their games that weren't Cloud9, that were close, kind of close. They beat Golden Guardians pretty handily. The 100 Thieves game looked back and forth. It just looked like when they play against a team that is so much better than them, like Cloud9, they just kind of just fall apart, you know? Optic have only ever beaten Cloud9 once, and that was when Power of Evil did the Smite jungle mid Talon. It just kind of feels like Optic were never on, like, one of the top 3 orgs' level. But they did manage to beat TSM earlier last week, so take that with a grain of salt too. After losing to Cloud9, Optic go 2-0 to put themselves into playoffs. This is Optic Gaming's first and last playoffs, since they will also be rebranded as Immortals coming into the spring 2020. And that means that, well, it just feels really nice to finally have Optic in playoffs. They've been fighting for it for a while. They really realistically should have made it last last year's summer split, but they couldn't, obviously, because 9-9 just wasn't a good enough record to get them in. But they've made it now. Meteos and Crown are still their better performing members. Doko's been playing pretty well, all things considered. They have a pretty well performing roster now. And, at the first part of the year, I predicted them to be a dark horse because they did have some good pieces about them. But them all coming together was really unknown at that point. And it was just like, how will you ever make this better? And they did. And they made it work to the point where they got to playoffs. So good job to you, Optic. The next team is Clutch, right? Yeah, it's Clutch. Oh, man. Oh, yikes. They made it. After upgrading their roster and taking out Piglet and putting in Cody's son, they got to playoffs. They've been playing surprisingly well off the back end of the split. They were doing drafts that were, per se, not optimal based off of their players and how you look at them, but it worked out for them. They got to 5th place. They were able to make it into playoffs. They were better than their opposition. As I kept looking at them throughout each of the weeks, they were a lot better than their, FlyQuest, Golden Guardians. Even though they had stronger players at certain points, they just looked better in Clutch's terms. So, congrats to Clutch. They also are now going to be Dignitas next split. I don't know how the name change might actually happen. They might just keep it Clutch Gaming, or they might just rename it to Dignitas. But Dignitas, Clutch Gaming, whatever you want to call them, make playoffs again. And they'll be going against our 4th place team. A blast from the past. Hey, TSM. Oh my god. What do I even say? I don't want to say anything because I think I've said enough about TSM at this point. They're facing off against Clutch in the playoffs. We'll talk about that in a separate different video. TSM win a game off a Baron Steel, lose to Team Liquid with a Glacial Shroud comp. They're just I don't know what to say. It's just all bad. They didn't even play Acadian in the last week. They played Spica, maybe because they're like, okay, we already locked playoffs, then what's the point of playing Acadian? Maybe they had a bad week of scrims with Acadian. It's just so much, at the end of the day, like, if Clutch beat TSM in the quarterfinals, I'm not even surprised. That's how much that I wouldn't even care at this point. Next team is CLG. They lose to Cloud9, and they lose to 100 Thieves, and that knocks them into 3rd, thus giving them the 3rd place spot. And, I mean, they were overall, the 3rd best team on the split anyway. I think 3rd or 2nd for them would be an alright position for them. They were better than TSM through most of the split in general, and if not all of it. The whole team has been playing pretty weird. It just feels like they get out drafted. They have good pieces still about them. Their players are performing decently well. And to see them kind of go 0-2 in this last week was interesting because they went 2-0, 0-2 the previous week. Overall, a good roster. It's finally nice to have them back into playoffs again. It just kind of felt ever so weird not to have them in playoffs. So good job to CLG. They made it to playoffs, and they're going to be facing off against Optic. Cloud9 and TL, not much to really say about them. Cloud9 won with Deftly, Cloud9 won with Sneaky. The players have all been performing decently well. Sneaky in lane, it's still a meme at the end of the day. Licorice, Niski, and Svenskaren are one of the strongest top sides in the league right now. They have a lot of things that they can go off of. They played a pretty good, clean game against CLG, and then had a game where they completely destroyed Optic. So they're going to be a really strong team heading into playoffs. They get the playoff bye. Completely unexpected from Cloud9 to ever get the bye. I think it was just more or less so like they were able to show up on the last few days of the split. 3-0. Oh, it was what, 4-0, or no, it was at least 4-0 or 3-0 in the back end of the split because they lost against FlyQuest. They beat they beat Team Liquid, and then they won these last 4-0 on the back end of the split. So a good job for the boys in blue. And now we have Team Liquid. Nothing much to really say about them either, honestly. They got 14-4 on the split. They got the playoff bye. They'll get to choose their opponent out of whoever wins out of between TSM and Clutch and Optic and CLG. That'll be their opponents. Now, this is kind of interesting. If TSM beat Clutch, there is no doubt in my mind that Team Liquid won't choose TSM. And I feel like that TSM and Cloud9 will have to face each other in a rematch in the playoffs again, and hopefully Cloud9 would be able to beat them in a very, very close series, because it was a very, very close series last time we went, and it made me so sad to see Cloud9 lose to TSM in the playoffs and not go to the finals. But that's how I feel like it would actually pan out. Team Liquid looked pretty well. The only problem with TL moving forward is Jensen has said that he has had wrist pain, so maybe taking a few weeks off before playoffs, because they do get the bye anyway, so he gets to, to take the extra week off anyway. That's interesting, because that is a problem you don't want to have right now. Of all times to be a Team Liquid fan is knowing that your star mid laner is having wrist issues, and that's just the worst time to have it. But Team Liquid finished first place. Hey, my predictions came true. Cloud9 and TSM have solidified themselves as not in the spots. Team Liquid and Cloud9 finished exactly where I thought coming into Spring Split. Now at the back end of summer with this over, they finished first and second. CLG's in the playoffs, like I predicted. 100 Thieves, they were so close to making it, so close, but they didn't, and that just is so bittersweet. So, see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, signing out my LCS Week 9 2019 Summer Split thoughts and predictions. Yeah, well, this concludes it for North America. EU is still going on too, so expect some more content there, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Have a good day.